Let's dive into your real estate exam prep with 120 more key questions on principles, practice, finance, math, and more. And don't miss what's happening in the bottom corner. It'll be key to your prep. We'll explain how in just a minute. Now, let's get started.
Real estate principles. Basic concepts of real estate. Which of the following is a key concept of real estate that defines the rights associated with the ownership of land and improvements? Is it A, bundle of rights, B, easement, C, lien, or D, zoning? The answer is A, bundle of rights. The bundle of rights is a fundamental concept in real estate that encompasses the various legal rights, such as possession, control, exclusion, enjoyment, and disposition that accompany property ownership. Which physical characteristic of land makes it impossible to move the property? Is it A, scarcity, B, improvements, C, immobility, or D, permanence? The answer is C, immobility. Immobility is a physical characteristic of land that reflects its fixed geographic location, meaning it cannot be moved from its place.
Have you noticed the code in the bottom corner? Next time you're stumped, take that code to birdsey.ai for immediate help and a free study session with Birdsey, your personal AI study partner. Plus, you'll get access to hundreds of additional questions, helping you move closer to passing your exam with confidence. The next time you're feeling unsure or stuck, give it a try.
What term describes the change in the value of a property because of external factors? Is it A, depreciation, B, rezoning, C, economic obsolescence, or D, functional obsolescence? The answer is C, economic obsolescence. Economic obsolescence refers to the loss in value of a property due to external factors like changes in the neighborhood or economic conditions that are outside the property owner's control. Property ownership. Which type of property ownership allows all owners to have equal rights to the possession and use of the property? Is it A, tenancy in common, B, joint tenancy, C, sole ownership, or D, community property? The answer is B, joint tenancy. Joint tenancy allows multiple owners to have equal rights to the possession and use of the property with the right of survivorship. This means when one owner dies, their share passes to the remaining owners. What distinguishes a life estate from a fee simple estate? Is it A, duration of ownership, B, type of property, C, number of owners, or D, transferability? The answer is A, duration of ownership. A life estate is limited to the duration of a designated individual's life and does not include the full bundle of rights available in a fee simple estate, which is the most complete form of ownership, lasting indefinitely. What is the primary feature of a condominium ownership? Is it A, exclusive use of a detached building, B, exclusive ownership of a unit and shared ownership of common areas, C, right to use common property as per lease terms, or D, full ownership of land and structure? The answer is B, exclusive ownership of a unit and shared ownership of common areas. Condominium ownership involves owning an individual unit exclusively while sharing ownership of common areas like elevators, hallways, and recreational facilities with other unit owners in the development. Types of property. Which of the following is an example of personal property? Is it A, a detached garage, B, a refrigerator, C, a built-in stove, or D, a swimming pool? The answer is B, a refrigerator. Personal property, also known as chattel, includes items that are movable and not permanently affixed to land or buildings. A refrigerator, as an appliance that can be moved, is an example of personal property. What is a hallmark characteristic of real property? Is it A, movable. B, covered under personal property laws. C, permanently attached to the land. Or D, easily transferable. The answer is C, permanently attached to the land. Real property includes land and anything permanently attached to it, such as buildings or trees. This characteristic distinguishes it from personal property, which is movable. Which term refers to the rights associated with owning real property? Is it A, chattel, B, bundle of rights, C, lien, or D, estate? The answer is B, bundle of rights. The bundle of rights describes the complex set of rights associated with owning real property, including possession, control, exclusion, enjoyment, and disposition. Real versus personal property. Which of the following is considered real property? Is it A, a built-in fireplace, B, a freestanding bookshelf, C, a patio umbrella, or D, a painting hanging on the wall? The answer is A, a built-in fireplace. Real property includes land and any structures that are permanently attached to it, such as built-in fixtures. Personal property encompasses movable items. When a property is sold, which of the following usually remains with the property? Is it A, built-in appliances, B, portable air conditioners, C, area, or D, furniture? The answer is A, built-in appliances. Items that are affixed to the property, such as built-in appliances, are considered real property and typically remain with the home upon sale. Which of the following is an example of personal property? Is it A, a chandelier, B, a potted plant, C, a fence, or D, a garage door opener installed in the garage? The answer is B, a potted plant. Personal property includes movable items such as potted plants, which are not permanently attached to the land or buildings.
If you're finding this helpful, please take a minute to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more practice exams, useful tips, and complimentary study sessions with Birdsey.
Legal descriptions. Which of the following is the most accurate method for describing real estate in a legal context? Is it A, meets and bounds, B, tax assessor number, C, street address, or D, plot map? The answer is A, meets and bounds. The meets and bounds method accurately describes real estate by specifying the property's boundaries and measurements, providing the most detailed legal description. What is the purpose of a lot and block system in real estate? Is it A, to describe parcels of land within a subdivision, B, to measure the land's improvement value, C, to assign tax rates to properties, or D, to provide zoning classifications? The answer is A, to describe parcels of land within a subdivision. The lot and block system is used primarily to describe property within subdivisions. It helps in identifying specific plots of land for legal purposes. Which method of legal description describes a parcel of property using points, distances, and angles? Is it A, government survey system, B, meets and bounds, C, lot and block, or D, street address? The answer is B, meets and bounds. The meets and bounds method is a system that describes the perimeter of a parcel of land using boundary lines with terminal points and angles. Real estate practice. Agency relationships. What is the primary duty of a real estate agent to their principal? Is it A, loyalty, B, disclosure, C, accountability, or D, confidentiality? The answer is A, loyalty. The primary duty of a real estate agent to their principal is loyalty, which entails prioritizing the principal's best interests in all dealings. Which of the following best describes a fiduciary relationship in real estate? Is it A, a relationship built on trust and confidence, where the agent acts in the principal's best interest. B. A formal contractual relationship between buyer and seller. C. A business partnership between a real estate agent and their client. Or D. An advisory role where the agent provides suggestions but has no obligations. The answer is A. A relationship built on trust and confidence, where the agent acts in the principal's best interest. A fiduciary relationship in real estate is characterized by trust and the agent's duty to act in the principal's best interest with loyalty and care. When must an agent disclose an agency relationship to a prospective buyer? Is it A. As soon as possible, preferably at the first substantive contact? B. Only after the buyer shows serious interest in a property? C. During the closing process? Or D. Only if the buyer asks about the agency relationship? The answer is A. As soon as possible, preferably at the first substantive contact. Agents must disclose their agency relationship as soon as possible, ideally at the first substantive contact, to ensure transparency and prevent potential conflicts of interest. Duties and disclosures. What is the primary duty of a real estate agent as a fiduciary to their client? Is it A. To disclose confidential information to assist in the transaction? B. To act in the client's best interest by providing honest and fair treatment? C. To ensure the client receives the lowest possible price for a property? Or D. To prioritize personal gain over the client's interest? The answer is B. To act in the client's best interest by providing honest and fair treatment. A fiduciary duty means the agent is obligated to act in the best interest of the client, maintaining loyalty, confidentiality, and honesty. This is a fundamental ethical obligation under real estate law. Which of the following must be disclosed by the agent to a potential buyer? Is it A. The seller's urgency to sell? B. The presence of lead-based paint? C. The seller's financial situation? Or D. The agent's commission rate? The answer is B. The presence of lead-based paint. Agents must disclose any known material facts about the property, including potential health hazards, such as lead-based paint, to the buyer in accordance with federal and state laws. Under the principle of disclosure of material facts, what information must an agent reveal to a client? Is it A. The lowest price accepted by the seller? B. Significant defects in the property? C. The motivation for other buyers in the market? Or D. Personal biases about the neighborhood? The answer is B. Significant defects in the property. Disclosing material facts, such as defects in a property, is essential to ensure that buyers have all pertinent information to make an informed purchase decision, safeguarding both the buyer and agent legally. Fair housing laws. Which of the following practices is forbidden under the Federal Fair Housing Act? Is it A. Denying a loan based on poor credit history? B. Refusing to rent to someone based on race? C. Charging higher rent based on income? Or D. Requesting ID verification from tenants? The answer is B. Refusing to rent to someone based on race. The Federal Fair Housing Act prohibits discrimination based on race, color, national origin, religion, sex, familial status, and disability. Refusing to rent to someone based on race is illegal under this law. Which group is not protected under the Federal Fair Housing Act? Is it A. Race? B. Age? C. Color? Or D. Disability? The answer is B. Age. The Federal Fair Housing Act protects against discrimination based on race, color, national origin, religion, sex, familial status, and disability. Age is not covered, although other laws like HOPA may apply. Which of the following would be considered discrimination under the Federal Fair Housing Act? Is it A. Providing different amenities based on familial status? B. offering preferential rates to veterans. C. Charging higher deposits for pet owners. Or D. Refusing to rent to someone with a criminal history. The answer is A. Providing different amenities based on familial status. The Federal Fair Housing Act prohibits discrimination based on familial status. Providing different amenities to individuals based on whether they have children is considered discriminatory.
Notice the code in the corner. When you're stumped by a question, enter it at birdsey.ai for immediate help. Enjoy complimentary study sessions and access to hundreds of additional questions to help you pass your exam with confidence.
Ethics and professional conduct. Which of the following is a key principle of the National Association of Realtors Code of Ethics? Is it A. Pursuing personal interests above client interests? B. Maintaining honesty and integrity in all transactions? C. Prioritizing profits over ethical considerations? Or D. Promoting discriminatory practices? The answer is B. Maintaining honesty and integrity in all transactions. The National Association of Realtors Code of Ethics emphasizes maintaining honesty and integrity in all transactions. Realtors are expected to adhere to these principles to ensure professional and ethical conduct. What action is considered unethical for real estate professionals? Is it A. Disclosing property defects to clients? B. Misrepresenting property details intentionally? C. Providing clients with fair market value analysis? Or D. Adhering to clients' requests within legal limits? The answer is B. Misrepresenting property details intentionally. Misrepresenting property details intentionally is considered unethical. Real estate professionals must provide accurate information to ensure trust and compliance with ethical standards. In real estate practice, which scenario best illustrates a conflict of interest? Is it A. Acting as an agent for both buyer and seller in the same transaction without disclosure? B. Recommending a licensed home inspector to a client? C. Negotiating property price adjustments? Or D. Referring clients to financing options within legal limitations? The answer is A. Acting as an agent for both buyer and seller in the same transaction without disclosure. Acting as an agent for both buyer and seller in a transaction without proper disclosure creates a conflict of interest. Agents must disclose such dual agency to avoid ethical breaches. Property management. What is the primary purpose of a property management agreement? Is it A. To outline the terms for property leasing? B. To establish the responsibilities and compensation of the property manager? C. To determine the property's market value? Or D. To specify the tenant screening criteria? The answer is B. To establish the responsibilities and compensation of the property manager. A property management agreement primarily serves to define the responsibilities and compensation of the property manager, aligning the expectations and duties of both the property owner and the manager. Which of the following is not a typical responsibility of a property manager? Is it A. Maintaining the property? B. Collecting rent? C. Appraising the property? Or D. Handling tenant complaints? The answer is C. Appraising the property. While property managers handle various tasks including maintenance, rent collection, and tenant relations, appraising a property typically requires a certified appraiser and falls outside a property manager's duties. What is a key factor in successful tenant retention? Is it A. Frequent rent increases? B. Effective communication and prompt maintenance? C. Delayed lease renewals? Or D. Strict tenant rules? The answer is B. Effective communication and prompt maintenance. Effective tenant retention is achieved through clear communication and prompt attention to maintenance issues, fostering a positive living environment that encourages tenants to stay. Real estate contracts. Required elements of a contract. Which of the following is not a required element for a valid real estate contract? Is it A, mutual agreement, B, lawful objective, C, earnest money, or D, consideration? The answer is C, earnest money. Earnest money is typically used to show the buyer's good faith, but is not a necessary element for a contract to be valid. The essential elements of a contract include mutual agreement, lawful objective, and consideration. What is the primary purpose of the statute of frauds in real estate contracts? Is it A, to ensure all real estate agents are licensed, B, to prevent fraudulent conduct, C, to establish fair housing practices, or D, to determine property boundaries? The answer is B, to prevent fraudulent conduct. The statute of frauds requires certain types of contracts, including those for the sale of real estate, to be in writing to be enforceable, thereby reducing the potential for fraudulent claims. What does consideration in a real estate contract usually refer to? Is it A, a detailed property survey, B, the price or value exchanged, C, the earnest money deposited, or D, a real estate commission? The answer is B, the price or value exchanged. Consideration in a contract often refers to the price paid or the value exchanged between the buyer and the seller. It is a crucial element that confirms the parties' agreement to the terms. Types of contracts. What type of contract ensures that one party's obligation is contingent upon the performance of another party? Is it A, unilateral contract, B, bilateral contract, C, open listing, or D, net listing? The answer is B, bilateral contract. A bilateral contract is characterized by mutual obligations where each party's duty is contingent upon the performance of the other. This is common in real estate purchase agreements. In real estate, what type of contract becomes enforceable only if the other party is aware of and reliant on it? Is it A, implied contract, B, express contract, C, unilateral contract, or D, executed contract? The answer is C, unilateral contract. A unilateral contract is enforceable when one party performs an act based on the promise of the other, such as in open listings or rewards for certain actions. Which type of contract allows the seller to continue marketing the property and accept other offers until the contract is fulfilled? Is it A, exclusive right to sell listing, B, exclusive agency listing, C, net listing, or D, open listing? The answer is D, open listing. An open listing enables the seller to accept other offers and only owe commissions to the broker who successfully brings a buyer, giving the seller flexibility to solicit offers. Contract clauses and terms. What does the due diligence clause in a real estate contract generally allow the buyer to do? Is it A, secure financing for the property, B, withdraw from the contract for any reason, C, conduct inspections and evaluations of the property, or D, negotiate the closing costs with the seller? The answer is C, conduct inspections and evaluations of the property. The due diligence clause allows buyers a specified period to inspect the property and review any necessary documents to ensure the property's condition is satisfactory before finalizing the purchase. Which clause in a real estate contract specifies the date by which all conditions must be met and the transaction must be closed? Is it A, contingency clause, B, closing date clause, C, financing clause, or D, amendment clause? The answer is B, closing date clause. The closing date clause is a critical term in a real estate contract, specifying when all conditions must be completed and the property transaction finalized, ensuring both parties are aware of the timeline. What purpose does an as-is clause serve in a real estate contract? Is it A, it requires the seller to fix all property defects? B, it allows the buyer to inspect the property before purchase? C, it relieves the seller from liability for property defects? Or D, it automatically lowers the purchase price? The answer is C. It relieves the seller from liability for property defects. An as-is clause signals that the buyer agrees to purchase the property in its current state, with no expectation for the seller to fix any issues, thus limiting the seller's liability for defects. Negotiation and acceptance. What does the term acceptance mean in the context of a real estate contract? Is it A, the buyer agrees to the terms of the seller's counteroffer? B, the seller agrees to the buyer's offer without changes? C, both parties agree to close the transaction within 30 days? Or D, the escrow account is funded with the buyer's deposit? The answer is A, the buyer agrees to the terms of the seller's counteroffer. Acceptance in a real estate contract occurs when one party agrees to the proposed terms of the other party's offer or counteroffer, effectively creating a binding agreement. Which scenario best describes a counteroffer in a real estate transaction? Is it A, the buyer submits an offer that the seller accepts as it is? B, the seller suggests different terms to the buyer's original offer? C, the buyer agrees to pay the closing costs proposed by the seller? Or D, the seller declines the buyer's offer without any change? The answer is B, the seller suggests different terms to the buyer's original offer. A counteroffer occurs when the seller or buyer proposes different terms in response to the original offer, which nullifies the initial offer and creates a new offer. When does a real estate offer typically become a binding contract? Is it A, when the buyer makes the offer? B, when the seller accepts the offer and communicates it to the buyer? C, when the escrow account is opened? Or D, when the buyer submits a loan application? The answer is B, when the seller accepts the offer and communicates it to the buyer. A real estate contract becomes binding when the seller accepts the buyer's offer and the acceptance is communicated to the buyer, fulfilling the consideration requirement in contract law. Breach of contract and remedies. What is the most common remedy for a buyer in the case of a seller's breach of a real estate contract? Is it A, liquidated damages? B, specific performance? C, rescission? Or D, punitive damages? The answer is B, specific performance. Specific performance is often the preferred remedy for buyers because it compels the seller to follow through with the terms of the contract, ensuring the property transfer. Which of the following is generally not considered a valid remedy for a breach of a real estate contract? Is it A, specific performance? B, compensatory damages? C, rescission? Or D, punitive damages? The answer is D, punitive damages. Punitive damages are generally not considered a valid remedy for a breach of a real estate contract because they are intended to punish egregious behavior rather than rectify breach issues. What can a seller do if a buyer breaches a real estate contract and refuses to close the transaction? Is it A, seek specific performance from the court? B, keep the earnest money deposit as liquidated damages? C, report the buyer to the real estate commission? Or D, file a breach of contract lawsuit to recover punitive damages? The answer is B, keep the earnest money deposit as liquidated damages. The most common remedy for sellers when a buyer breaches the contract is to keep the earnest money deposit as liquidated damages, reflecting a predetermined loss. Real estate finance. Basic concepts of real estate finance. Which of the following is considered a benefit of obtaining a fixed-rate mortgage? Is it A, lower initial interest rates? B, stable monthly payments? C. Flexible payment terms. Or D. Interest rates that adjust periodically. The answer is B. Stable monthly payments. Fixed-rate mortgages offer stable monthly payments, making it easier for borrowers to budget and plan their finances over the life of the loan. This stability is a key advantage, especially in times of fluctuating interest rates. In real estate finance, what is the primary purpose of private mortgage insurance, PMI? Is it A, to protect the borrower from future interest rate increases? B, to increase the borrower's credit score? C, to allow the borrower to qualify for a loan with a lower down payment? Or D, to lower the overall mortgage interest rate? The answer is C, to allow the borrower to qualify for a loan with a lower down payment. Private mortgage insurance allows borrowers to qualify for loans with smaller down payments. It protects the lender against potential losses if the borrower defaults, enabling lenders to offer loans to borrowers with lower down payments. What is the typical impact of a down payment on the loan-to-value ratio in a mortgage? Is it A, it decreases the LTV ratio? B, it increases the LTV ratio? C, it has no impact on the LTV ratio? Or D, it determines the interest rate on the mortgage? The answer is A, it decreases the LTV ratio. The loan-to-value, LV ratio, is a measure of the loan amount divided by the appraised value of the property. A larger down payment reduces the loan amount needed, which lowers the LTV ratio. Types of loans and mortgages. Which type of mortgage allows the borrower to increase the principal amount at a later date? Is it A, fixed-rate mortgage? B, adjustable rate mortgage? C, construction mortgage? Or D, open-end mortgage? The answer is D, open-end mortgage. An open-end mortgage permits borrowers to borrow additional sums in the future up to a stipulated limit while using the same mortgage as security. This type of loan provides flexibility in accessing funds. What is one primary characteristic of a balloon mortgage? Is it A, equal payments throughout the loan term? B, a large payment due at the end of the term? C, interest rates adjusting monthly? Or D, declining balance as payments are made? The answer is B, a large payment due at the end of the term. A balloon mortgage features smaller periodic payments followed by a large balloon payment due at the end of the loan term, requiring planning for the sizable end payment. What defines an FHA loan? Is it A, guaranteed by private lenders? B, insured by the Federal Housing Administration? C, typically require a 20% down payment? Or D, only available for commercial properties? The answer is B, insured by the Federal Housing Administration. FHA loans are insured by the Federal Housing Administration, offering lower down payment requirements and less stringent credit standards to help more individuals qualify for housing loans.
Don't forget to comment below with your tips, challenges, and thoughts on exam preparation. Your experiences can make a big difference for others.
Loan qualification and application process. Which of the following is not typically a document required during the loan application process? Is it A, proof of income? B, credit report? C, property survey? Or D, tax returns? The answer is C, property survey. While a property survey may be required later in the process, it is not typically a document required at the time of loan application. Loan applications generally focus on financial credentials like income, credit report, and tax returns. What is the primary purpose of obtaining a pre-approval letter from a lender? Is it A, to lock in an interest rate? B, to establish the buyer's creditworthiness and borrowing power? C, to negotiate the sale price of a property? Or D, to finalize the loan agreement? The answer is B, to establish the buyer's creditworthiness and borrowing power. The primary purpose of a pre-approval letter is to demonstrate a buyer's creditworthiness and borrowing power. It indicates that the lender has preliminarily approved the buyer for a certain loan amount based on a credit check and financial assessment. In the loan qualification process, what does the debt-to-income ratio represent? Is it A, the percentage of a borrower's monthly income that goes towards paying debts? B, the total amount of debt a borrower can incur? C, the interest rate applied to the borrowed amount? Or D, the ratio between secured and unsecured debts? The answer is A, the percentage of a borrower's monthly income that goes towards paying debts. The debt-to-income ratio, DTI, is the percentage of a borrower's monthly gross income that goes toward paying debts. Lenders use this ratio to assess the borrower's ability to manage monthly payments and repay the loan. Government programs like FHA and VA. What type of loan is characterized by having a government guarantee but is available only to eligible veterans? Is it A, Federal Housing Administration loan? B, Veterans Affairs loan? C, conventional loan? Or D, USDA loan? The answer is B, Veterans Affairs loan. VA loans are designed to assist veterans in purchasing homes with favorable terms. They are guaranteed by the Department of Veterans Affairs and are only available to eligible veterans. What is one of the primary benefits of an FHA loan for first-time homebuyers? Is it A, higher down payment requirements? B, stricter credit score requirements? C, lower down payment requirements? Or D, no property appraisal needed? The answer is C, lower down payment requirements. FHA loans are particularly beneficial for first-time homebuyers due to their lower down payment requirements. This makes homeownership more accessible to individuals who may not have saved sufficient funds. Which agency insures FHA loans? Is it A, Freddie Mac? B, Federal Housing Administration? C, Department of Veterans Affairs? Or D, Fannie Mae? The answer is B, Federal Housing Administration. The Federal Housing Administration insures loans provided by approved lenders to protect them against losses if borrowers default, making it easier for more people to qualify for home loans. Mortgage market and regulatory bodies. Which regulatory body oversees the secondary mortgage market in the United States? Is it A, Federal Reserve? B, Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC? C, Federal Housing Finance Agency, FA? Or D, Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD? The answer is C, Federal Housing Finance Agency. The Federal Housing Finance Agency is responsible for overseeing Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and the Federal Home Loan Bank system, key players in the secondary mortgage market. Which of the following is a primary function of Fannie Mae in the mortgage market? Is it A, originate loans? B, provide mortgage insurance? C, purchase and securitize mortgages? Or D, set interest rates? The answer is C, purchase and securitize mortgages. Fannie Mae purchases mortgages from lenders and securitizes them into mortgage-backed securities, thus providing liquidity to the mortgage market. Which of the following activities is prohibited under the Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act, RESPA? Is it A, charging origination fees? B, kickbacks and referral fees? C, providing a loan estimate? Or D, using a standard form mortgage application? The answer is B, kickbacks and referral fees. RESPA prohibits kickbacks, referral fees, and unearned fees between settlement service providers to protect consumers from unnecessarily high settlement charges. Property valuation and appraisal. Basic valuation concepts. What is the principle of substitution in property valuation? Is it A, a property is only worth what it costs to build? B, A property is worth no more than a similar property available for purchase. C. The value of a property is determined by the highest offer received. Or D. A property's value changes proportionally with its size. The answer is B. A property is worth no more than a similar property available for purchase. The principle of substitution states that the value of a property is determined by the cost of acquiring an equally desirable substitute in a competitive market. What does the term highest and best use refer to in property valuation? Is it A, the use that generates the most immediate income? B, the use that produces the highest property value? C, the most legally permissible, physically possible, and financially feasible use? Or D, the use that aligns with the owner's wishes? The answer is C, the most legally permissible, physically possible, and financially feasible use. Highest and best use is the most profitable, legal, physically possible, and financially feasible use of a property, leading to the highest value. Which valuation method involves comparing the subject property to similar properties that have sold recently? Is it A, income approach, B, cost approach, C, sales comparison approach, or D, gross rent multiplier? The answer is C, sales comparison approach. The sales comparison approach evaluates a property based on recent sales of similar properties in the same market, reflecting current market conditions. Methods of valuation. Which of the following methods of valuation involves estimating the cost to rebuild a property as if new, then subtracting depreciation? Is it A, income approach, B, sales comparison approach, C, cost approach, or D, gross rent multiplier? The answer is C, cost approach. The cost approach is commonly used for new or unique properties. It involves calculating the cost to rebuild the property new and then subtracting depreciation. What is the primary consideration in the sales comparison approach? Is it A, replacement cost, B, depreciation, C, income potential, or D, comparable sales? The answer is D, comparable sales. The sales comparison approach is based on the principle of substitution, comparing the property being appraised to recently sold properties with similar characteristics. In the income approach to valuation, what is typically used to estimate a property's value? Is it A, sales prices of comparable properties, B, gross income multiplier, C, net operating income, or D, replacement cost minus depreciation? The answer is C, net operating income. The income approach values a property based on its ability to generate income, typically using the net operating income, NOI, divided by a capitalization rate. Comparative market analysis. What is the primary purpose of a comparative market analysis, CMA? Is it A, to determine the best listing price for a home, B, to inspect the condition of a property, C, to estimate property tax rates, or D, to calculate potential rental income? The answer is A, to determine the best listing price for a home. A CMA is used to determine a property's fair market value by comparing it with recently sold properties in the area. This helps sellers set competitive listing prices. Which property characteristic is least likely to affect the results of a comparative market analysis? Is it A, location of the property, B, square footage of the property, C, age of the property, or D, current homeowner's mortgage rate? The answer is D, current homeowner's mortgage rate. A CMA focuses on property characteristics like location, size, and age, while the owner's current mortgage rate does not influence the comparative market value of the property. What type of properties are included in a comparative market analysis? Is it A, only properties currently for sale, B, only properties that were recently sold, C. Both recently sold and currently listed properties. Or D. Commercial and residential properties. The answer is C. Both recently sold and currently listed properties. A CMA includes both recently sold and currently listed properties to provide a comprehensive market analysis and help in setting a competitive listing price. Appraisal process and techniques. What is the first step in the appraisal process? Is it A. Market analysis, B. Defining the problem, C. Data collection, or D. Estimate of site value? The answer is B. Defining the problem. The first step in the appraisal process is defining the problem, which involves identifying the property and the purpose of the appraisal. Which approach to value is based on the principle of substitution? Is it A. Income approach, B. Cost approach, C. Sales comparison approach, or D. Residual approach? The answer is B. Cost approach. The cost approach to value is based on the principle of substitution, which holds that a buyer will not pay more for a property than the cost to acquire a similar property. What type of depreciation is caused by external factors, such as neighborhood decline? Is it A. Physical depreciation, B. Functional obsolescence, C. External obsolescence, or D. Economic life? The answer is C. External obsolescence. External obsolescence is depreciation caused by external conditions, such as neighborhood decline, which negatively affect a property's value. Types of value: market, assessed, etc. What does market value primarily reflect? Is it A. The investment value for the buyer, B. The price agreed upon by a willing buyer and seller without any pressure, C. The cost to replace the property if it were destroyed, or D. The assessed value for tax purposes? The answer is B. The price agreed upon by a willing buyer and seller without any pressure. Market value represents the most probable price for a property in a competitive market where both buyer and seller act knowledgeably and without undue pressure. Which type of value is used by governments to determine property taxes? Is it A. Value, B. Assessed value, C. Replacement cost, or D. Investment value? The answer is B. Assessed value. Governments use assessed value to determine property taxes, which may differ from the market value. This value is established by a tax assessor. What term describes the highest price a property will bring on the open market? Is it A. Market value, B. Assessed value, C. Investment value, or D. Replacement cost? The answer is A. Market value. Market value is the highest price a property is expected to sell for under normal market conditions, where both buyer and seller are well informed. Transfer of property. Title and deeds. What is the primary purpose of recording a deed? Is it A. To notify the public of the ownership change, B. To validate the transfer of funds, C. To establish property boundaries, or D. To issue property insurance? The answer is A. To notify the public of the ownership change. Recording a deed serves to notify the public of the change in property ownership, providing legal protection against future disputes. Which deed provides the most comprehensive protection to the grantee? Is it A. Quitclaim deed, B. Special warranty deed, C. General warranty deed, or D. Bargain and sale deed? The answer is C. General warranty deed. A general warranty deed offers the grantee the highest level of protection by guaranteeing the title against all claims, regardless of when they arose. What distinguishes a deed of trust from a mortgage? Is it A. The number of parties involved, B. The type of property conveyed, C. The interest rate applied, or D. The method of foreclosure? The answer is A, the number of parties involved. A deed of trust involves 3 parties, borrower, lender, trustee, whereas a mortgage involves 2, borrower, lender, which makes the main structural difference. Title transfer process. Which document is typically used to convey ownership of real property from one party to another? Is it A, warranty deed, B, promissory note, C, listing agreement, or D, lease agreement? The answer is A, warranty deed. A warranty deed is typically used to transfer ownership of real property, providing certain guarantees about the title from the seller to the buyer. What is the main purpose of the title search in the title transfer process? Is it A, determine the property's market value, B, identify any liens or encumbrances on the property, C, ensure the property is in good physical condition, or D, negotiate the terms of the sale? The answer is B, identify any liens or encumbrances on the property. The main purpose of a title search is to identify any liens, encumbrances, or other issues that might affect the buyer's ownership rights. Who typically issues the title insurance policy in a real estate transaction? Is it A, the buyer's lender, B, the seller, C, the title insurance company, or D, the real estate agent? The answer is C, the title insurance company. The title insurance company issues the title insurance policy to protect the buyer and lender against any defects in the title that were not discovered during the title search. Escrow and closing. What is the primary purpose of an escrow account in a real estate transaction? Is it A, a temporary account held by the buyer's bank, B, a neutral account where funds and documents are held until conditions of the sale are met, C, an account where the seller holds the buyer's deposit, or D, an account exclusively used to pay closing costs? The answer is B, a neutral account where funds and documents are held until conditions of the sale are met. An escrow account is a neutral account where funds and documents are held by a third party until all conditions of the sale are met. This ensures protection for both the buyer and seller. Which document is typically held in escrow until the closing of the property sale? Is it A, the deed to the property, B, the buyer's loan application, C, the seller's disclosure statement, or D, the real estate agent's fee agreement? The answer is A, the deed to the property. The deed to the property is often held in escrow to ensure that it is only transferred to the buyer once all conditions of the sale are finalized and closing is completed. In a closing statement, which entry represents the buyer's responsibility? Is it A, prepaid property taxes, B, title insurance premium, C, outstanding mortgage balance, or D, real estate agent commission? The answer is B, title insurance premium. The title insurance premium is a common responsibility for the buyer to ensure they receive a clear and marketable title to the property, free of any encumbrances. Recording and title insurance. What is the primary purpose of recording a real estate document? Is it A, to provide public notice of the document's contents, B, to validate the signatures on the document, C, to fulfill lending requirements for the mortgage, or D, to ensure compliance with zoning laws? The answer is A, to provide public notice of the document's contents. Recording a real estate document, such as a deed, provides public notice of its existence and contents, thereby protecting legal interests and preventing fraudulent claims. What does a title insurance policy primarily protect against? Is it A, future zoning changes, B, defects in the title existing at the time of purchase, C, physical damage to the property, or D, market value fluctuations? The answer is B, defects in the title existing at the time of purchase. Title insurance shields the owner or lender from financial loss due to defects, liens, or other issues with the title that existed prior to the purchase of the policy. Which type of notice is achieved when a document is recorded in the public records? Is it A, constructive notice, B, actual notice, C, implied notice, or D, presumptive notice? The answer is A, constructive notice. Constructive notice is the legal presumption that information about a specific property, when recorded, is available and thus known to the public.
Notice the code in the corner? When you're stumped by a question, enter it at birdsey.ai for immediate help. Enjoy complimentary study sessions and access to hundreds of additional questions to help you pass your exam with confidence.
Settlement procedures. What is the primary purpose of the Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act, RESPA? Is it A, to regulate property appraisals, B, to ensure ethical advertising in real estate, C, to provide consumers with information about settlement costs, or D, to protect tenants' rights in rental agreements? The answer is C, to provide consumers with information about settlement costs. The Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act, RESPA, focuses on providing consumers with necessary information regarding settlement costs, protecting them from abusive practices. Which form is required by RESPA to itemize all fees and costs in a real estate transaction? Is it A, Truth in Lending Disclosure Form, B, HUD-1 Settlement Statement, C, Good Faith Estimate, or D, Uniform Residential Loan Application? The answer is B, HUD-1 Settlement Statement. The HUD-1 Settlement Statement, required by RESPA, provides a complete breakdown of the costs associated with a real estate transaction and helps ensure transparency for the buyer. When must the closing disclosure form be provided to the borrower by the lender? Is it A, at least 1 week before the closing, B, at least 3 business days before the closing, C, on the day of the closing, or D, within 24 hours of the loan application? The answer is B, at least 3 business days before the closing. The closing disclosure form must be provided to the borrower at least 3 business days before closing to ensure they have adequate time to review the terms and costs associated with the transaction. Real estate law. Federal laws affecting real estate. Under the Fair Housing Act, which group is not protected from discrimination? Is it A, race, B, color, C, marital status, or D, national origin? The answer is C, marital status. The Fair Housing Act protects against discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, disability, familial status, and national origin. Marital status is not covered federally, but some state laws may address it. Which law requires lenders to provide borrowers with the terms and costs of a mortgage loan? Is it A, Fair Credit Reporting Act, FCRA, B, Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act, RESPA, C, the Truth in Lending Act, or D, Home Mortgage Disclosure Act, HMDA? The answer is C, the Truth in Lending Act, TILA. The Truth in Lending Act mandates that lenders provide borrowers with crucial information about the terms and costs of their mortgage, ensuring transparency and protection for the borrower. Which federal law mandates that lenders disclose settlement costs and prohibits kickbacks in real estate transactions? Is it A, Equal Credit Opportunity Act, ECOA, B, Community Reinvestment Act, CRA, C, Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act, RESPA, or D, Homeowners Loan Act, HOLA? The answer is C, Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act, RESPA. The Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act, RESPA, mandates that lenders provide detailed disclosures about settlement costs and prohibits kickbacks and referral fees in the real estate transaction process. Property rights and land use. Which legal concept allows a property owner to use and enjoy their land without interference from others? Is it A, encumbrance, B, easement, C, quiet enjoyment, or D, deed restriction? The answer is C, quiet enjoyment. Quiet enjoyment is a fundamental right in property law that protects property owners from unlawful disturbances, allowing them to use and enjoy their property in peace. What term describes the restriction on how land can be used as imposed by local government regulations? Is it A, zoning, B, eminent domain, C, easement, or D, encroachment? The answer is A, zoning. Zoning laws are critical in urban planning, guiding land development and use to ensure orderly growth and compatibility with surrounding areas. Which type of easement allows utility companies to run power lines across private property? Is it A, easement by prescription, B, appurtenant easement, C, easement in gross, or D, implied easement? The answer is C, easement in gross. Easements in gross are common for utility companies, allowing them to maintain and operate facilities on private land, benefiting the organization rather than any particular property. Federal environmental laws and regulations. Which federal law primarily regulates water pollution in the United States? Is it A, Clean Air Act, B, Endangered Species Act, C, Clean Water Act, or D, Resource Conservation and Recovery Act? The answer is C, Clean Water Act. The Clean Water Act, CWA, establishes the basic structure for regulating discharges of pollutants into the waters of the United States and quality standards for surface waters. Which federal agency is responsible for enforcing the Comprehensive Environmental Response, Compensation, and Liability Act, CERCLA? Is it A, Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, B, the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, C, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, or D, the Department of Energy, DOE? The answer is B, the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA. The Environmental Protection Agency enforces CERCLA, which deals with the cleanup of hazardous substance releases and the management of Superfund sites. Which act requires federal agencies to consider the environmental impact of their actions? Is it A, the National Environmental Policy Act, NEPA, B, the Toxic Substances Control Act, TSCA, C, the Safe Drinking Water Act, SDWA, or D, the Federal Insecticide, Fungicide, and Rodenticide Act, FIFRA? The answer is A, the National Environmental Policy Act, NEPA. The National Environmental Policy Act, NEPA, requires federal agencies to prepare detailed assessments of the environmental impact and alternatives to major federal actions. Zoning and land use controls. Which of the following best describes a zoning ordinance? Is it A, a law that permits all land uses without restriction, B, a ruling that governs the use and development of land within a jurisdiction, C, a guideline for voluntary land use planning, or D, a regulation that only applies to commercial properties? The answer is B, a ruling that governs the use and development of land within a jurisdiction. Zoning ordinances are legal regulations that outline how land within certain jurisdictions can be used. They help in separating residential areas from industrial and commercial areas to reduce conflicts. What is a variance in the context of zoning laws? Is it A, a permanent change to the zoning map, B, a temporary permit for illegal land use, C, a special exception to the present zoning regulations, or D, a court order to rezone an entire district? The answer is C, a special exception to the present zoning regulations. A variance is a form of relief granted to a property owner, allowing them to use their land in a way that deviates from existing zoning regulations, usually due to some hardship. What is the primary purpose of R1 zoning? Is it A, to establish industrial zones, B, to designate areas for single-family residential housing, C, to create zones for high-density commercial properties, or D, to protect wetlands and natural resources? The answer is B, to designate areas for single-family residential housing. R1 zoning is used to designate areas for single-family residential homes. It helps in maintaining the character and capacity of low-density residential neighborhoods. Taxation and assessment. What is the primary function of a property tax assessment? Is it A, to determine the property's resale value, B, to establish the basis for calculating property taxes, C, to appraise property for mortgage loans, or D, to enforce zoning regulations? The answer is B, to establish the basis for calculating property taxes. Property tax assessments are conducted to determine the value of a property for the purpose of calculating property taxes owed. Which government body is typically responsible for conducting property tax assessments? Is it A, federal government, B, state government, C, local county or municipal tax assessor's office, or D, homeowners association? The answer is C, local county or municipal tax assessor's office. Property tax assessments are usually handled at the local level by county or municipal tax assessor's offices to determine property values for taxation. How often are property tax assessments typically conducted? Is it A, annually, B, every 6 months, C, every 5 years, or D, only when the property is sold? The answer is A, annually. In many jurisdictions, property tax assessments are conducted annually to ensure that the assessed values reflect current market conditions. Real estate math. Basic math concept. What is the formula to calculate the area of a rectangular lot? Is it A, length width, B, length width, C, length times width divided by 2, or D, length plus width? The answer is A, length width. To find the area of a rectangular lot, you use the formula length its width. This measures the total surface enclosed within the rectangle's boundaries. What is the term for the return on investment percentage a property generates annually? Is it A, cap rate, B, interest rate, C, discount rate, or D, equity rate? The answer is A, cap rate. The capitalization rate, cap rate, measures the annual return on investment as a percentage. It is calculated by dividing the property's net operating income by its current market value. How do you calculate the gross rent multiplier, GRM? Is it A, property price, gross rental income, B, gross rental income, property price, C, net operating income, property price, or D, property price, net operating income? The answer is A, property price, gross rental income. The gross rent multiplier is found by dividing the property price by the gross annual rental income. It helps investors quickly compare the potential profitability of different properties. Calculations for property valuation. What is the principle of substitution in real estate appraisal? Is it A, the value of a property is determined by the price of an identical substitute, B, a property's value is influenced by the value of a substitute property, C, a property should be valued by averaging multiple substitute properties, or D, the value of a property is unaffected by neighboring property prices? The answer is B, a property's value is influenced by the value of a substitute property. The principle of substitution posits that the value of a property tends to be set by the cost of acquiring an equally desirable substitute property. Which approach to property valuation is most appropriate for valuing a single-family home? Is it A, income approach, B, cost approach, C. Sales comparison approach, or D. Gross rent multiplier? The answer is C. Sales comparison approach. The sales comparison approach evaluates a property by comparing it with similar properties that have recently sold, making it ideal for appraising single-family homes. In the cost approach, which cost is not considered? Is it A. Replacement cost, B. Depreciation, C. Land value, or D. Rental income? The answer is D. Rental income. The cost approach focuses on the replacement or reproduction cost of a structure minus depreciation plus land value. It does not include considerations of rental income, which is relevant in the income approach. Loan and mortgage calculations. What is the primary purpose of using an amortization schedule in a loan? Is it A. To track the loan interest rates, B. To outline the repayment plan of the loan over time, C. To calculate the loan-to-value ratio, or D. To determine property taxes? The answer is B. To outline the repayment plan of the loan over time. Amortization schedules are used to outline how loan payments are divided between principal and interest over the life of the loan, helping borrowers understand their debt payment trajectory. What is the formula for calculating the monthly mortgage payment? Is it A. M equals P multiplied by R times 1 plus R raised to the power of N divided by 1 plus R raised to the power of N minus 1? B. M equals P multiplied by 1 plus R raised to the power of N? C. M null, or D. M equals R times P times 1 minus R raised to the power of N? The answer is A. M equals P times R times 1 plus R raised to the power of N divided by 1 plus R raised to the power of N minus 1. The formula M equals P times R times 1 plus R raised to the power of N divided by 1 plus R raised to the power of N minus 1 correctly calculates the fixed monthly mortgage payments based on the principal P, monthly interest rate R, and number of payments N. Why is it important to understand the concept of loan-to-value, LTV ratio? Is it A. It helps in determining the property tax rate, B. It impacts the terms and conditions of obtaining a loan, C. It reflects the operating expenses of the property, or D. It determines the amortization schedule? The answer is B. It impacts the terms and conditions of obtaining a loan. The loan-to-value LTV ratio is a measure of lending risk. Higher LTV ratios represent higher risk for lenders and can influence the loan's interest rate and approval terms. Proration and closing cost calculations. If a property is sold for $250,000 and the closing date is July 15th, who is responsible for paying the property taxes if they are due annually on November 1? Is it A. The buyer, B. The seller, C. Both the buyer and the seller proportionately, or D. Neither party? The answer is C. Both the buyer and the seller proportionately. Property taxes are prorated at closing, meaning both the buyer and seller share the cost proportionate to the amount of time each owns the property during the tax period. What is the proration formula used to calculate the buyer's portion of a prepaid property tax? Is it A. Total annual tax amount divided by 12 times the number of months the buyer owns, B. Total annual tax amount multiplied by the number of months the buyer owns, C. Monthly tax amount plus prorated interest, or D. The buyer does not pay any portion? The answer is A. Total annual tax amount divided by 12 times the number of months the buyer owns. The proration formula divides the total annual tax by 12 to obtain the monthly amount, which is then multiplied by the number of months the buyer will own the property during the tax year. How is a closing cost that is prepaid by the seller and benefits the buyer treated during closing? Is it A. As a debit to the seller and a credit to the buyer, B. As a credit to the seller and a debit to the buyer, C, as a neutral item to both parties, or D, not accounted for during closing? The answer is A, as a debit to the seller and a credit to the buyer. Prepaid costs benefiting the buyer are credited to the buyer and debited from the seller during closing to ensure proper reimbursement for prepaid expenses. Investment and return calculations. What is the formula for calculating the capitalization rate of a property? Is it A, operating income property value, B, property value operating income, C, operating expenses property value, or D, gross income property value? The answer is A, operating income property value. The capitalization rate is a key metric in real estate that helps investors evaluate the potential return on an investment property. It is determined by dividing the net operating income by the property's value. Which factor does not directly affect the net operating income of a property? Is it A, operating expenses, B, debt service, C, property taxes, or D, vacancy rates? The answer is B, debt service. Net operating income, NOI, is calculated by subtracting operating expenses from gross income. Debt service costs are omitted from the NOI calculation, making it a crucial metric for assessing property performance without financing considerations. What is cash-on-cash return in real estate investment? Is it A, rate of return on an investment property based on the estimated income stream, B, measure of the annual return made by an investment compared to the initial equity investment, C, the percentage earned on each dollar invested in a property over a lifetime, or D, a ratio of the operating income and the total debt service? The answer is B, measure of the annual return made by an investment compared to the initial equity investment. Cash-on-cash return measures the annual return on the investor's cash invested in a property, helping to evaluate the efficiency of the investment. It does not account for loan or leverage effects.
Thanks for joining us today. If you found this video helpful, subscribe to our channel for more practice exams, tips, and tricks. And don't forget to visit birdsey.ai for complimentary study sessions with Birdsey, your AI-powered study partner.